The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing and discussed the proposed rezoning in accordance with procedures established in the Land Development Code for evaluating the merits of rezoning requests and the administrative procedures for processing such a request. The following motion was made. It was moved by C. Gottlieb, seconded by K. Clegg, and carried 6-0, that after conducting a public hearing and review of the application and staff report for 01-REZ-02-24, the Planning Commission finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with recommendations of the Community Master Plan and meets the requirements of the Land Development Code, Section 54.1405, and hereby recommends that the City Commission approve 01-REZ-02-24 as presented. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, adopt ordinance 728, rezoning 756 West Washington Street from general commercial to a mixed-use district. Alternatives, as determined by the Commission.
And with that, I will open the public comment. Anyone wishing to comment on the rezoning of 756 West Washington Street, please step up to the microphone. Anyone? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment and turn to the commission for a motion. Pro Tem Hanley?
Thanks. I move that we adopt ordinance 728, rezoning 756 West Washington Street from general commercial to a mixed-use district.
And a second? Commissioner Larson?
Second.
Comments?
I think the Planning Commission did all of the work here, and we are just dotting the i's.
Commissioner Larson?
Yep, I would agree that the Planning Commission found that it was in compliance with the Master Plan and Land Development Code, and I support it.
Okay, any other commissioners? Okay, well, then let's call the roll call vote.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hanley?
Yes.
And Mayor Davis.
Yes, the motion passes 7-0. Moving along, we'll go to the consent agenda. Commissioners, may I have a motion? Commissioner Ottaway?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Commissioner Schlegel?
A second.
Comments?
Nope.
Schlegel?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Which brings us to new business, the short-term rental resolution. City Clerk, may I have the background, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The Marquette City Commission passed an ordinance regulating short-term rentals in 2017. Since that time, the city has enforced local control to place reasonable regulations on short-term rentals to ensure they are balancing the needs of long-term residents and those of visitors to the community. The current version of House Bill 5438 allows for local units of government to continue to regulate short-term rentals in the aforementioned manner, in addition to providing a source of revenue to support city services encumbered by the high level of tourism in this area. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, approve the resolution supporting HB 5438 and authorize the mayor to sign. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, may I have a motion? Pro Tem Hanley?
I move that we approve the resolution supporting House Bill 5438 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
And comment?
I think that this is a great thing in its current version that would really help us to keep control. Right now, we have a really good system for short-term rentals in the city, and it helps to at least keep the housing market only where it's at. It would be way worse if we just allowed for all short-term rentals. So I think it's great to support this, and I really hope it passes in this form.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Yeah, I'll just add to what Commissioner Hanley already beautifully said with her explanation. Ultimately, the importance of this bill is to really allow local municipalities to make the decisions about what's going on, as opposed to a blanket law by the state, which maybe could control everything. And I think that ultimately, if you talk to people in local communities, they're always going to want to have that final say if they can. And I think it's very important when we're talking about, potentially talking about who your neighbor could be. It's nice that locally, our municipality as well as other municipalities will maybe have some say when it comes to that. So that's why this is an easy support.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Schlegel?
Yeah, I just want to go along with what you guys are talking about here. It's incredibly important that we keep this at the local level. I was on the planning commission when this, when all of the verbo language was put together, and it took us, months, if not well over a year, I think, to get their final version. But I'm aware also that our current program that we've got set up has been used in other communities as a template to let them know, here's some really best practice type ideas that are working in Marquette very effectively, and we really need to be able to maintain public or local control of this and keep the state out of our nose. Thanks.
Other commissioners? Commissioner, Mayor?
Yeah, the only tidbit I would add to this is it's kind of refreshing to see this, considering a year ago we were concerned about a bill that would completely remove all local control over short-term rentals, to now the state, for probably once in the last 4 decades, actually giving local control back. So it's great to see in its current state.
Anyone else? Okay. I too am real happy to support this resolution. This is one of those reasons that we are members of the Michigan Municipal League. They've worked real hard to counter the previous bills that have been before the House and the Senate, and to keep the local control, which didn't seem to be going too well for us in a year or two ago. And the House bill in its current form not only keeps the control local, but also allows us to collect some funding from the rentals of the units, which would be very helpful to our community. So this is a roll call vote. So City Clerk, would you conduct the roll call vote?
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hanley?
Yes.
And Mayor Davis?
Yes, so motion passes 7-0. Which brings us to the second public comment period. So anyone wishing to address the commission, please step up to the podium. You have 3 minutes.
Barb Altsai, 1324 North Front. I had to say something. So I actually wanted to address the one point, I think it was Commissioner Larson, or maybe it was Commissioner Ottaway, that talked about the biggest obstacle. And I think some of you, and Jerry kind of hinted or brought up the Strong Towns approach. If you haven't heard of the Strong Towns approach, specifically a book called Confessions of an Engineer, I would highly, even just going on the website, Strong Towns, I would highly recommend you kind of check that out. I think the biggest obstacle we have here, and in all across the United States, is that we are so car focused. We're raised to look both ways before we cross the street. It's always about the car dominance. And I think as a city, the best thing that we can do is to lead by example, by painting those stripes and showing that it's important that we are, establishing places for other forms of transportation. And, the Strong Towns approach will kind of convince you that, using streets for all forms of transportation is so good for city growth, city economy. It's just, again, once you dive into it, you'll be a true believer. So it's leading by example, and if we can get people to, think differently about who owns the road. And, and the other thing I want to mention too is, I think initially when I started to come to city commission meetings, it was about crosswalk. And it was about, people stopping for, cars stopping for crosswalks, and the fact that we don't have our our vehicle code, I'm not going to make a clear statement here. I'm still really advocate that somehow if we can get motor vehicles to stop for pedestrians, I know statewide, nationwide, maybe even local ordinance wide. But anyway, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Anyone else for public comment?
Matt Ludenberger, 1406 Garfield Ave. I'm a little conflicted at this point because I am a bike rider. I do like walking, but I also like driving. I don't like walking in the snow. I don't like walking in the cold wind. I don't like walking in the rain. We're not an umbrella community. And by that, I mean, we don't walk around our community holding umbrellas in case it rains. We get in our car, we drive the 4 miles or wherever it takes, and we get out and we do our thing. So part of me says this complete streets compliment that we got and the idea to push all-inclusive roads seems dangerous. And I say this because we seem to be concentrating only on commercial areas, but what's to stop me from walking down the street on Fair Ave, literally in front of my house, as slow as I want to go? I can ride my bike in the middle of the road as slow as I want to go. That seems to be a thing that would be permittable, and that seems dangerous. And I'm really kind of like questioning how many things we're trying to put into different places. And now, by the way, I'll remind you, I'm a big advocate for a trolley on 3rd Street and Washington Street, one that goes north-south, one that goes east-west, have parking on either end of it all, and let us walk the roads with that. Don't let us park on the roads, don't let us drive down the roads, don't let us ride our bikes in any other part of the road besides what's assigned. That seems like a more, I don't know, how do you go about doing that? I don't have the words that say all-inclusive because I literally don't want people walking slowly down 3rd Street. And now that it's a, a social area, I can literally walk down 3rd Street with a beer in my hand and not get arrested, according to these policies that seem to be set up. So please think of that. I've got 1 minute left. I'm going to go back to Lakeview Arena because I'd like us all to flash forward 30 years when Lakeshore Drive that we keep blocking off from Lakeshore or from Lakeview Arena because of the weather. When we move that inland, Lakeview is going to be right in the way. And I keep getting a lot of questions from all of our customers, all of our city residents, all of our visitors who come from out of town. When and what are we doing to upgrade Lakeview Arena? Now that we got a 5-year recreation plan that's coming up, and now that we got all these accolades for bike riding, can we put some of this money, can we put some of this effort, can we put some of this design concept into Lakeview Arena? And unfortunately, the VA isn't going into Cliffs Dow. So could Lakeview Arena, the compressors, the areas that are accessible to be moved, could they be moved down there? Could we plan on using that land for city use? I guess my time is up. Thank you for listening.
Anyone else for public comment?
Cameron Smith, 503 Garfield Ave. I wanted to make sure I thank you guys for your service and allowing me to come and present. I know you're charged with a very difficult job. I admire that. I have come to know more about it in the last few months than I did before, and so I want to recognize that. I should say that my continued effort is to gain as much support and collaboration as possible. This isn't a financial venture. I'm not trying to encourage there to be some change. I'm simply introducing the opportunity to educate those who haven't been reached. I'll give you an example, though, of change and innovation that's occurred. 1830, Samuel Morse introduced to Congress the electrotelegraph, okay? He wasn't the first to come up with it. I think there might have been 50 or so before that, even England and throughout. He was, however, the first to gain the support of Congress, having introduced a system to communicate effectively that was an agreed upon medium. It revolutionized the world as we knew it. It still is today. We still use electrical communication devices. The real potential that we have is in the execution of the innovation. Okay, if you were to live in a library, it doesn't do you much good if you can't apply it. You can have all the information at your disposal, which we do. It's just how to ask for the right information at the right time. There's nothing more valuable in this world perhaps, then intelligence. In the right place, at the right time. The military does a very good job of introducing the right intelligence to the right person at the right time, so to prevent death. And that's what we're talking about. That's the urgency I have. That's why I come. I appreciate your consideration of all aspects of the community and your consideration of this matter. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a great evening.
Anyone else for public comment?
Dimitri Kultzis, 2016, Longer Ave. I'd like to come up on top of Barb and say Strong Towns approach. Definitely check it out. Great program. They have courses, they have educational resources, podcasts, articles, all the above. It's a great sort of viewpoint to look at, complete streets. It's actually one of their core campaigns is safe and productive streets. How can we make streets more efficient and productive financially, and more, how do we design streets safer so that people feel comfortable doing biking and pedestrian walking, because those, of course, are, more productive to the city, right? On that, I'd like to say I did take a look. A friend of mine actually sent me this little thing. It's Michigan traffic crash facts, which is kind of interesting. Got all data on all traffic crashes. And what I found interesting was actually looking at the past 5 years between 2018 and 2022, there was about a crash a day in Marquette. So about 5,000 people affected in crashes in 5 years, roughly about 2,500 crashes. Of that, about half of it was all because there were no traffic control devices at an intersection. Going into that even further, it's funny, you can actually separate by age, and it's the 16 to 27-year-olds had about 1/3 of all crashes. So that sort of leads me to what Dave was saying, was when we try to say, let's get more pedestrians and more bikeability, we should be aiming at these, people my age and younger people to bike more, specifically at NMU. So maybe the city can talk to NMU of some sort and say, hey, if you can get these kids to not bring their cars up here, or, save some room by having them rent bikes or some sort of bike sharing program with NMU, we can sort of save on traffic costs as well as, making it safer, so there's less police resources being used during these crashes. Other than that, yeah, just check out Strong Towns. Great company, nonprofit, and great principles. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will close public comment and turn to comments from the commission, and I will be starting with Commissioner Schlegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not a lot to go over tonight, but in honor of opening weekend of baseball, I'm wearing my Tigers shirt. And they're doing okay. It's great to see. April in the D is big, and hopefully we'll see some playoff hockey there. So I'm kind of bouncing off of what I said last meeting with a lot of local sports going on. We've got something very proud to be to announce as far as our U14 team that went out to New York and competed, gave it their best effort. Unfortunately, didn't make it out of their first division, but to represent not just Marquette but the entire state of Michigan. What an accolade! Really proud of those kids for what they've done. Really proud of the community for rallying behind the team to get them out there to raise the funds that were needed. Following them as closely as I did, it appeared to be just an amazing event for those kids. It definitely a once in a lifetime, hopefully not once in a lifetime, but a core life memory that those guys will be able to walk away from, and thank you for everybody that was involved with that. Other than that, I'm in good shape. Hopefully this beautiful weather keeps going and we actually see some good spring. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Really the only thing I have is, as the weather is good, and as I look at the weather forecast, it seems like it will be good, which is great. I would just ask the public to be patient with Public Works. I know they're working hard on getting everything up and running for the summer season. We definitely still have chance of snowfall, so even though it might be a beautiful 55 degree sunny day, that doesn't mean that 4 days from now a snowstorm won't come. So there's certain things we can't set up just yet, and I know that can be hard to understand. You know, I'd love some snow. These guys are laughing at me like it is what it is. You live in Marquette, it's fine. But I was down walking by the harbor before I came to this meeting, and I could see they're already kind of working on the temporary docks down at the new piers, and the crews are hard at work. So wanted to thank them in advance for all their hard work, and ask the public for some patience as we navigate this spring. Thanks. Okay.
Commissioner Larson.
I'd just like to, thank again our presentations, today, and, just say that, if it makes sense to staff and others that, supporting a change to Complete Streets Advisory Committee, maybe that makes sense, but, leave it to discussion, amongst the advisory committees and staff, as far as that goes. As far as the, some of the updates, that need to kind of move forward for Complete Streets, I would certainly be, open to having, future discussions, about, what the commission can do on those parts, and, things along the lines of, street striping and others for, bicycle facilities, I think certainly makes sense and, worthy to kind of consider amongst the commission in future sessions anyway. So, thank you.
Commissioner Mayer.
Yeah, just two quick things. Just kind of thanks to everyone in the general public here that came out tonight and spoke. It honestly wasn't expecting a lot of public comment tonight, so it's always nice to hear. The only other thing I was going to add is regarding Strong Towns. They also have a book. It's a pretty easy read too. They've written it even though it's written by experts in each chapter by people in their field, they write it in a manner that someone that doesn't have a big background in municipal government can really understand it. So it's a good read.
Okay. Commissioner Ottaway.
Yeah, real quick, as we get to the nice weather and we're all ready for all of that, I hope, we have our first festival happening this weekend in Marquette, so everyone kind of be safe while you're out there. Angry Bears going on. That to me is always the I don't know, the first part of spring, and everyone gets excited to see that. But this year, fingers crossed, maybe we have warm enough weather that you don't need to have a winter parka on. So I hope everyone's as excited about that as me. That's it.
Pro Tem Hanley.
Nothing today.
Nothing.
Nope.
Okay. I just want to make a comment about the Complete Streets, and it was Barb that initially suggested I read The Confessions of an Engineer, and then Demetrius convinced me to read Strong Towns. So I really do like the concepts that are presented in those two books. One of the things that it did to me was it encompasses neighborhoods, and it really, that whole concept of bringing our neighborhoods together is one that I really like. I do have one thing that I want to make sure that we don't miss as we move towards Strong Towns, and that is those people who are unable to bike or walk or do any of the other transportations that we are looking to accommodate more than we currently accommodate. And we need to pay attention also to those people and their need to be able to drive a car on these streets and park in a reasonable place where they can access our businesses. So I think the whole thing is really an exciting concept with the Complete Streets and the Strong Towns, but I also hear from other people about that little bit of a caution. So the other thing I wanted to do is recognize Bob Chapman, who passed away this past week. Bob served on our community in very wonderful ways. He was on the Presque Isle Park Advisory Committee for 8 years, and a couple of those years, maybe like 3 years as the chair. He was on our Parks and Rec Ad Hoc Master Plan Committee, our Friends of Presque Isle Playground, the Marquette Playgrounds for All, and he's currently again on the PIPAC Committee. And he was so instrumental in moving us towards access for all children and people for our current project that we have down at Matson Lower Harbor Park. And I just wanted to recognize his passing and give my condolences to his family and to those in Marquette that were close to him. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you. I had the honor of riding along with Bob in the 4th of July parade this past year, and I was looking forward to seeing him again, but he will be certainly missed throughout the community, but his contributions and his legacy really does continue to live on. So thank you for that, for recognizing him on that. A couple of comments regarding the complete streets, but then also our bicycle friendly community designation. It is noted that the community development staff does consider the complete streets policy and the non-motorized plan during each street reconstruction and during capital improvement planning. So this is something that is incorporated into several different layers of planning, and especially addressing our infrastructure. It has several different components that are considered. So really leaving that with engineering on that side of things with reconstruction of roads is really important. But we're also looking for additional funding all the time to assist with implementing certain plans regarding bicycle lanes or micromobility or infrastructure in that regard as well, including some planning dollars to look at a more robust plan that would qualify for even more funding to have some of those more robust characteristics like buffered bike lanes and things like that, and some of that infrastructure that is really truly promoting safe sharing of streets. So we look forward to kind of continuing to unfold with that and to kind of progress with that, but do keep in mind that we do look at the complete streets policy quite frequently. It's just sometimes behind the scenes that it's discussed as well. So we're glad that we have that collaborative approach between many different boards and commissions, and then also departments too. Thank you for the reminder that spring is coming. I can't believe that I say when I moved to the UP that my first sign of spring would be the salamander crossing and shutting down the road, but then also the Angry Bear Festival, which is very comical when I tell people downstate what my signs of spring are. So, but really with spring though, it comes to when we open the restrooms and start putting out more of those garbage cans and really kind of starting to get our parks ready for some activity. So I will look into an update on that timeline and trying to get some of that information and maybe be able to share that sooner rather than later. Our next meeting isn't until the end of April, but perhaps maybe there'll be a few signs of spring in that way before then. So with that, just one reminder as well that community office hours will be this week on Wednesday from 10 to noon at the Peter Wright Public Library. So see you all there. Thank you.
And that concludes our meeting at 7:05 p.m.